67% of people who watched said Trump did a better job than Biden. Some media outlets today saying Biden's performance was so poor he should reconsider his run. Let's bring in pollster and communications strategist Frank Luntz. Frank, great to have you. Great to see you. So it's been almost 48 hours, but it doesn't feel like the dust has settled. Where are you at this hour?
It is not settled. And I'm getting calls and emails and texts and WhatsApp. What's going to happen? Is Biden going to stay? And I think the answer to that is pretty clearly yes. Did this make a difference? And the answer to that is pretty clearly yes. 50 million people saw the two candidates face to face, side to side. And that has an indelible impact on how people view it. They were not happy with Donald Trump. They were even less happy with Joe Biden. And frankly, what our group said was at the end, Joe Biden should step aside, put somebody else in there. The gentleman, your focus group, said exactly what I heard. Someone younger with Biden's policies and Biden's record will give Donald Trump a run for his money. Joe Biden will not. You watch within the first 5-10 minutes, the debate started so slow for Joe Biden that people were shocked. They had not seen him look like this. But Joe Biden performed so badly. And you show one of the clips there where he had trouble completing the sentence, that he had trouble making the point of view. They were so concerned about that simply eclipses their disappointment with or even disdain for Donald Trump. And this is something that Democrats are talking about right now. The New York Times wrote about it. The reporter from The Atlantic wrote about it, that if you want to challenge Donald Trump, and I'm not taking sides, but if you really want to ensure that you defeat Donald Trump, is this the candidate? Is it really Joe Biden? According to my focus group, the answer is no.
72% of voters now say they do not think President Biden has the mental or cognitive health to serve as president. Here with me now is one of the top officials in the Democratic Party, a close ally of President Biden, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Thank you so much for being here. What is your reaction to that poll? 72% of voters say they don't think that the president is fit mentally or cognitively to be president.
Well, what do they think about the other guy? Do they think that he has the integrity to be president after that performance? Let us not make a judgment about a presidency on one debate. Let's talk about what it means to people in their lives. And that's why you're not seeing much change in the polls on this. And 16 Nobel laureates said when it comes to inflation, if the other guy gets elected, inflation will soar because of his fiscal policies. So it's not about performance in terms of a debate. It's about performance in a presidency. And I want you to know that the fact is that the reaction to the lies of Donald Trump is something that maybe TV isn't focusing on, but people are. And to have a debate where you have to spend half your time negating what he said because he has knows nothing about the truth. On one side of the screen, you have integrity. The other side, you have dishonesty.
The reality is there are still a lot of concerns that Joe Biden is the person to get you to that point, to making sure that Donald Trump is not back in there. No. Some prominent columnists, several newspaper editorial boards are just simply calling for Biden to step aside for the good of the country. Tom Friedman, a friend of President Biden's, wrote the following. He wrote, Joe Biden, a good man and a good president, has no business running for re-election. If he insists on running and he loses to Trump, Biden and his family and his staff and party members who enabled him will not be able to show their faces. What do you say to that? Is there any part of you that believes that President Biden should step aside?
I want you to know I came home to California, South and North, and people are for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They have some judgment about a person who stood on that stage and lied. If you're just talking about the debate, I'm respectful of some of the opinions that people have, but I also am respectful of the grassroots. My people are very much Biden, Kamala Harris, And this is an opportunity for Joe Biden to go out there and show he has the stamina and the rest. And by the way, while the press, and for some reason they don't, there are healthcare professionals who think that Trump has dementia, that his connection, his thoughts do not go together. Not only that he just lies, he doesn't even know the truth. So if we're just talking about mental acuity, let's be fair about it. I don't think Tom Friedman thinks that Donald Trump should be president of the United States.
The New York Times had this new report. It was 48 hours to fix a 90-minute mess inside the Biden camp's post-debate frenzy.
Yeah.
As a former insider, can you try to describe the damage control efforts that are likely going on behind the scenes? And would the White House and the campaign be working together on this or taking separate approaches? How'd that work?
Well, there's limitations legally, which they follow. How quaint is that, given Trump certainly does not follow those? But I would say, Alex, that when I read that story, I thought this is what you would be doing on a campaign. When you're knocked down, what you have to do is you have to hold the hands of your supporters. You have to do extensive outreach to donors, to members of Congress, to people running for Congress, to interest groups. And you have to project strength. That's what they're doing by trying to put out these fundraising numbers, by putting out even details like 3 times as many people have applied for jobs. They're trying to tell people he's still in it, guys. Hang with us. And you are seeing a circling of the wagons around him from his closest advisors. There are also complaints that people didn't hear from them early enough, or there wasn't enough outreach. That's not unexpected, and they have to continue to do more and more of it. But what you saw in that story, and I think what it's clear they're doing, is kind of doing everything they can to reach out to people and convey to them Joe Biden's planning to stay in the race. Here's how people are responding. Voters are with us, and they have to project that strength to try to keep people with them. And it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a rocky road.
The Atlanta Journal-Constitution editorial board joining the New York Times editorial board calling for President Biden to step aside. Then you have the Philadelphia Inquirer calling for Donald Trump to leave the race for the good of the country. Look, it's also notable, Jen, these are major papers in critical states of Georgia and Pennsylvania. So what was it about the debate that instigated such public outcry? I mean, you mentioned it's something we've been talking about, whispering or talking more overtly, but the public outcry has been deafening. Joe Biden has been facing questions about his age throughout. Donald Trump has faced questions about his warped perception of truth and reality for years.
That's true. And if you watch this last 20 minutes of the debate, Donald Trump had some crazy things to say, including in the rally he did the next day. And the Joe Biden who did the rally the next day was a different Joe Biden than showed up on the debate stage. It's even though the debate viewership numbers were relatively low, considering like 40 million, a little over 40 million, still a lot of people who watched it. And I think they're fully aware of that. I will say, with all due respect to the New York Times and the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, my bet is the campaign is like printing those out and posting them around the headquarters as motivation. It's not, in their view, I think, especially the New York Times, representative of the voters' view. It's representative of the editorial board of the New York Times. It's much more concerning to them if you see voters in Georgia, in Wisconsin, in Pennsylvania, an outcry running from Joe Biden. They're not seeing that at this point. So I don't actually think they care about the New York Times editorial board or the editorial. Discussions and debates and conversations, as I think Congressman Raskin said earlier today, happening out there. That is happening out there. An open convention or brokered convention is not a smooth and easy path.
No. Because
it is just a couple thousand delegates deciding, not the American public, who the nominee would be. And then there's the other the big factor. Would Joe Biden, and again, he's staying in the race, there's no indication he's not, but just to talk about this scenario, would he not endorse his vice president? If he didn't, my view is that would be pretty seismic. Right? So then he endorses his vice president. Does President Clinton endorse her? Does Barack Obama endorse her? Is that what happens? Do other people then, does everybody still stay out of it? Is it still divided? And who is spit out of that process may not be who people watching at home may want it to be. And it's done by 4,000, a couple thousand delegates. So the point I think people need to understand about that is this is not a West Wing episode, right? There isn't just an easy and smooth path, and people should inform themselves on that and make a decision. Maybe that's still what they want to happen and that's their choice, but it's not an easy, smooth thing that, if you read editorials, you might think that.
Just 10 minutes into the debate, and we knew it was game over for Joe Biden. Thursday night's first presidential debate exposing the lies that the Biden propaganda networks they've been telling the world for years now. Take a look.
But comparing that guy's mental state, I've said it for years now, he's cogent. But I undersold him when I said he was cogent. He's far beyond cogent. In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been.
That was MSDNC's Joe Scarborough just a few months ago. That was in early March. Did you hear what he said, cogent, and praising his mental cognitive, of Joe Biden? Really? Well, now take a listen to what Joe Scarborough said Friday morning after Joe Biden's debate performance.
The window is closing very quickly. And if Joe Biden is not up to doing this, and if last night did not reveal that to you and other Democrats, then it needs to be revealed pretty soon.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts. And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do? Lie!
What are officials who hold office in the Democratic Party saying tonight about President Biden's performance?
There are at least some House Democrats who were gathered tonight watching this together, talking to the White House about having him step down. That's how bad it was in their view.
His job was to calm his party, to make them feel that, yes, I can do this. I have 4 more years in me. I have the ability and the stamina and the strength to do 4 more years. He did not do that. He did the opposite of that.